Holy crap, guys. The economic and financial outlook in Canada has become so dire that the parliamentary budget officer, which is basically the government's accountant, the bookkeeper, has been sounding the alarm over the past 24 hours. This guy was so dumbfounded and worried about the Canadian economic outlook that he just kept saying how unsustainable things are looking. Again, this is a guy who the government appoints to look at the books, look at the budgets, look at the financial health of the country, and he just keeps saying that Canada may not have 2 years to course correct. That's just how bad the situation is. Skyrocketing debt, tanking GDP per capita, because that's the thing. The liberals keep using this whole GDP thing, which they keep artificially increasing with mass immigration. You bring in more people, the GDP goes up. But what they don't tell you about that particular practice is that it's all artificial, because what matters in reality is GDP per capita. Just 10 years ago, GDP per capita in Canada was actually par or higher than the United States. Citizens of Canada were among some of the wealthiest in the world just a short 10 years ago. But now GDP per capita has dropped dramatically. And again, this is coming from the parliamentary budget officer. This is not just anybody talking. This is a guy who has access to the books. He has access to all financial statements, to every loan that the government is taking, to the revenue that the country is generating. And he just kept repeating the words unsustainable, shocking, to describe the current financial situation in Canada. If that doesn't say just how bad things are going up north, I don't know what does. Watch.
If you support these videos, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it.
The public debt charges is $53.6 billion, and that projection is going to increase in 2030 to $82.4 billion. Is that sustainable?
Every dollar spent on debt is a dollar that is not spent elsewhere.
Again, how alarming is that for the average Canadian, for the taxpayer? Because there is only one taxpayer, right?
It should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not, like, it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable, right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done. Still working out the kinks. With respect to, thank you for your question. To answer, I think, the most important part of the question first, I think everybody should be concerned. My jokes aside, it's a really serious day, right? This is the first time in 30 years that we've tabled an economic and fiscal outlook where the fiscal anchor of the general and probably most important fiscal anchor for any government is a declining or at least stable debt to GDP ratio. And this is the first time in 30 years that I've seen one in which that ratio is going up over time. So that's definitely a cause for concern. Certainly on our end, we're hoping and certainly expecting the government, as part of Budget 2025, to clearly indicate what the government plans to do to address this and potentially address this problem, because it's certainly not sustainable.
Canada is on the edge of recession as exports crash, while their new globalist prime minister looks for new fights to pick with Donald Trump so it crashes harder. The numbers come from Stats Canada, who reports the economy contracted by an annualized 1.6% last quarter, driven by an annualized 27% drop in exports. Business investment fell an annualized 10.1%. Last one out, turn off the lights. The one growth area was government spending, which soared 5% while the economy shrank, bureaucrats recession-proof since 1867. The news sent the Canadian dollar, the loonie, tumbling to just 72 cents. In 2012, the Canadian dollar was worth more than the US dollar. It's already carnage up north after a decade of Justin Trudeau and Canada's new World Economic Forum approved Prime Minister Mark Carney. Carnage, they call him. In short, wages are West Virginia while housing costs are Los Angeles. According to the OECD, disposable income in Canada, what's left after taxes, is just 57% what it is in the US.
Economically, we have such power over Canada. I'd rather not use it, but they did something with our tech companies today trying to copy Europe. You know, they copied Europe. It's not going to work out well for Europe either, and it's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it. And so I said, we're going to stop all negotiations with Canada right now until they straighten out their act. Okay?
The only people who thought Canada could stand a chance going toe-to-toe with an economy over 10 times its size were the willfully blind or the poor souls watching government-paid media and believing them. The truth is, the United States doesn't even want to cause damage to Canada. They just want a fair trade deal and for Ottawa to finally control its leaky northern border and drug pipelines. Here's the kicker, though. Even the government-funded media, you know, the same folks who usually gaslight the public to protect their liberal buddies, they're now forced to admit the truth. And watching them eat crow on live television is priceless.
If you look at GDP, the Canadian economy doesn't appear to be doing all that bad. Heck, we're not even in a recession. As of last count, Canadian GDP growth was just keeping its head above water, so the economy is technically still growing. But the numbers change considerably when you look at measures of worker productivity. They keep dropping. And they're projected to keep dropping for the next 40 years. Canadians are going to work, they're clocking in their 8 hours, but on average, they're producing less than they used to. It's gotten to the point where Ontario, Canada's largest province, now has a per capita GDP roughly on par with Alabama, one of the poorest states in the US. And this is affecting our standard of living. University of Calgary economist Trevor Toom crunched the numbers and figured out that if Canadian labor productivity had instead spent the last 6 years keeping pace with the US, instead of remaining stagnant, we'd all be making an extra $5,500.
Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to be notified every time a new video is published, hit the subscribe button and activate the notifications bell. It's completely free and it helps our channel grow. A heartfelt thank you to all our channel members. I really appreciate your support. See you all in the next one. Peace.